brain box.
So I'm not fast enough for you? I work at the cash register at a grocery store in Germany. This is important later on. Me equals Miak equals annoying customer, C1 equals customer 1, C2 equals customer 2. One day I'm working a normal afternoon shift. Everything is normal. While scanning C1's items I encounter a problem. The price tag doesn't work. So I apologize and rush into the store to look for the item's price. I come back, sit down and finish scanning the items. C1 is an old lady and has some trouble finding her wallet. As she counts her cents I hear loud sighs coming from a customer, but I choose to ignore her for now. C1 pays and leaves. C2 approaches me and whispers to me that the person after him has been complaining about me while I was checking the item's price. While scanning C2's items the volume of the size slowly increases and she starts to say that this takes way too long. I wish C2 a good evening and it's Ack's turn. Me, good afternoon. Did you fiak? Hello. Can't you? The German informal version. Be quicker? I don't have all day. Me, I always try to work as fast as possible. Ack, I don't give a shit. Just do it as fast as possible. Some of us are more important than others and have places to be kid. The thing in Germany is that you have to pack your items by yourself. The cashier doesn't do it for you. Thus oftentimes resulting in the end of the conveyor belt being stacked with items still being packed by the customers while the next ones are already paying. I think to myself, as fast as possible? Sure thing. I start grabbing her items and push them over the scanner at the speed of sound. Nothing is safe, not the crisps nor the eggs. At the end of the belt is a small metal wall, and I smile with joy as I hear the eggs break due to them slamming into said wall. Ack, what do you think you are doing? You broke the eggs. Be more careful, damn it. Me, but you told me to do it as fast as possible, right? Ack, I can't believe what is happening. I'm going to report you to your manager. Ack leaves without her groceries. Later that evening my supervisor hits me up and I told him about it. He laughed his ass off and banned her from the store for verbal abuse. A sergeant told my friend to listen to everything he said. He did. This is not my story, but a friend who in the same air base as me. During BMT, basic military training, my friend was rather a wild kid, so the sergeant took aim to discipline him. One day, after a 25 kilometers, 15.53 miles, run, my friend was exhausted, but had a grenade tossing training. The sergeant in charge again came to my friend to listen to everything he said. So my friend was first to do the training, so here is what he said he remembered. Sergeant, okay, hide behind the wall. Complied. Sergeant, next, take the pin. Complied. Sergeant, now remove the pin and throw it. Complied. My friend took the pin out and threw the pin, leaving the grenade where it was, and ran to the toilets. Although he was written up for an incident, my friend had the excuse. The sergeant told me to listen to everything he said, and he did no extra duty was given, but he became more focused after the incident. Want me to pick an interesting video for the class? Enjoy projecting a dildo. This might be a long one, because there is a lot of build up. So during my sophomore year of high school, I had a chemistry class the first period of the day. I didn't really like chemistry, so I just kind of dragged my feet through it. One thing I did like, however, was watching YouTube at that time of day, because I was usually so tired I didn't have the mental capacity to do anything else. My teacher was mostly fine with this because I still got my work done, but sometimes he would say something. This was one such day. It started the usual way, with me sitting down and watching YouTube and not really paying attention. But for some reason, he had a personal vendetta that day and absolutely refused to leave me alone. We were talking about liquid nitrogen, and he said that we could look up videos on our own time, but then he saw me. He proceeded to rant about how I was on my phone again, and that I never did anything, and then at the end, he gave me an opportunity. He told me that he wanted me to find a liquid nitrogen related video, and that he would play it for the class at the end of the period. Perfect. So I decided I would look up things being frozen and then smashed, because who doesn't like that, right? The first video I clicked on, you can go about 150 in if you want to see it, and boy was it glorious. Because the title was so nondescript, he had no idea what was coming to him, and boy was it a sight to behold. As soon as it appeared on screen, he literally ripped his computer out from the cables, to uproarious laughter from my peers. The best part? I didn't get in trouble. Sure, he marched me down to the deans, but I had a great relationship with my deans. So when I told them what happened, my teacher was literally laughed out of the office. TL, doctor want me to find a video for the class? Project a 15-inch dildo for all to see. Fine, you want spicy? Try this. A little bit of background: at my work we have a big luncheon every month, and as fun as it sounds, it can be a bore because of some people. Now the two people who are involved are my friend F and bitchy woman B. Now F likes to bring food, but she also like to make homemade spicy sauces. Theoretically you would think that no one would ever issue, but B always makes really rude statements like, PFFFT, you call this spicy? You should just bring Tabasco, this ain't spicy at all. Or, PFFT, how is your husband still with you, even after you make such boring bland food? So one day F decided that enough was enough, and she went to go buy one of those sauces that are meant for huge servings, like 1 or 2 drops gets the job done. She brings her food, sets down her saucer, and the comments begin. B. Who you call this saucer? F. Omija, kinda like saying son, but for women in Spanish. You should try this. It's like Tabasco. B. Please, I drink Tabasco. B proceeds to grab the bottle and pour Satan's titty milk all over her food, all while F just grinned away. B takes her first and last bite. Now you see, the next things that came out of B's mouth were either vulgar or too out of breath to understand, so I will paraphrase and slightly estimate this woman's regret. B. Swear mother of Satan's left nipple, I wish I could die. It is if everything in my mouth is on fire. My suffering is non-stop, and all I wish for now is the sweet, sweet release of death herself. Now you see, this shit was like legitimately spicy, so spicy in fact that she was actually hospitalized, and since then she has never complained about the spiciness of her food. My elementary school principal renamed recess to morning stretch, so we happily complied. This takes place years ago, when I was in 5th grade. Back then, we had one of those safety nut principals who would take away anything if it even proposed a minor safety hazard. Before her cruel reign, we had 2 15-minute recesses a day. Not bad, but we got spoiled by this. Not only did she take away our second recess, she shortened our first one and renamed it to morning stretch. Oh yeah, she also took the bowl cut, because apparently basketball and foursquare is unsafe. We weren't even allowed to run around in the giant field, or use anything but the slide on the playground. I guess it was a time to talk to each other and relax, but 5th graders don't care about that stuff. To 5th grade me, this was a big deal. We tried to make a petition, and got well over 100 signatures, to bring back the old recess system, but to no avail. In one last dire attempt, a few kids set up a protest. One day during morning stretch, the entire grade would just stand around and stretch silently. It somehow worked. Probably around 80% of the grade participated. The principal and teachers weren't mad, just surprised. They didn't know what to do. We did this for the remainder of the stretch, and went inside, and continued as normal. This didn't change anything, but all these years later, it's still funny to me. Ice cream soup. S. I was a waiter once, and I've seen a lot of weird requests, and I usually try to convince customers that it's not a good idea, but this story is one of my best. Me/op, the chosen one. C. Customer W. Other waiter. It was a busy evening and the dessert of the day was ice cream cake. I had a regular customer that kept asking for hot desserts. Me. Tonight's dessert is ice cream cake. C. Can you put it in the microwave so it will be hot? Me. Well, would definitely not recommend it because it will be nothing but mush. Instead I could offer a different dessert. C. I don't want leftovers. I want tonight's dessert and hot. Asterisk MALICIOUS compliance mode activated asterisk. I take out of the freezer a slice of cake and put it in a bowl and put it in the microwave. While waiting, WTF are you doing op? Me. Well, someone asked me a hot ice cream cake. Did you warn her? Me. Yup. Laughing, wow, you are one evil genius. I bring to the customer the abomination that she'd asked. Me. Here is your ice cream soup. The look of defeat was priceless. PS. I'm not a monster. I offered her another piece, not microwaved afterward, and listened to my advices after that story. You won't let me out 5 minutes early? Alright, I'll make it legally binding. S. So this happened to me a few months ago. I'm in my sophomore year of high school at this shitty small town school. I'm neurologically disabled, and my doctor wrote a note to my teachers about my disability and how I needed to get out of class 5 minutes early, and faxed it to the school. Easy peasy. Or so we thought. Here comes this awful teacher we'll call Miss H. Everything was fine at first. I would leave 5 minutes early no problem, but one day something changed. It was 1 minute until I was about to leave. I started putting my books in my bag so that I would have my full 5 minutes to get to class. Well, Miss H apparently didn't like that. She talked quite loudly and said, "You don't need 6 minutes to get to class. Sit down." I was dumbfounded, but I eventually left at the same time as everyone else because she wouldn't let me and had a panic attack. It all went downhill from there. Eventually she stopped letting me go altogether, which took a toll on my medical health. Fast forward to now. My neurologist is pissed. The school's guidance said we didn't need a 504, which didn't seem weird at the time, but now we know that they didn't want to get into legal trouble. And keep in mind, she is one of the best in her field at Vanderbilt, and she told us to get that 504. So now if Miss H wants to keep me in class, she'll lose her job. I really hope she enjoys living on a boat again. More a petty compliance, but thought it might be worth sharing. Okay, so this takes place at my local supermarket. At the back of this supermarket they have a bakery where you can buy pastas, sausage rolls etc, fresh and warm at their best. So I bought a pair of fresh sausage rolls to eat for lunch etc. All is fine until I start checking out. It's a self-checkout machine, so there is just a couple of people roaming around the area, one of whom I know and has generally been a dick to me before. Henceforth D equals dick employee. I finish packing and paying my stuff and leave the wrapped sausage rolls on the top so I can grab them. I open it to get one out. I figured eat half on the way back to my car. 'Twas already lunchtime. D. Excuse me sir, you can't eat that here. All food bought here must be eaten off-site. I'm a route trans woman, and he knows this, so the emphasis on sir was intentional. I know this is BS. I've eaten bits while walking out before, and have seen others do the same. So I turn towards him, stare him straight in the eye, open my mouth, and put the sausage roll in it, but without biting it, so I technically didn't start eating it. I then walk out of the supermarket, sausage roll in mouth, not breaking eye contact with me as I do. Want me to move my pond over? Okay. This happened some years ago. I bought 4 acres and a house out in the country. The neighbor in this story has about 6 acres. The people I had bought the property from put in a small pond several years before, and when they did, part of the raised ground surrounding the water went over the neighbor's property line by maybe 5 to 10 feet. I didn't know about the property line issue when I bought the place. About a year after I moved in, my neighbors decided to have a fit about the property line. They claimed the previous owners had promised to move the raised area, and if I didn't move it, they would take me to court about it. After going back and forth about it with them, threatening lawyers, and coming to my work to argue about it, I told them I would move it. So, I contacted a guy with a small bulldozer, and I told him that I wanted him to reshape the pond. It was summertime by then, and the pond had mostly dried out as it was shallow. I wanted it deeper and to move the dirt on the neighbor's side inward by a few feet. Now for the malicious compliance. Making the pond deeper and moving the dirt wall meant I now had a lot of extra dirt that needed to go somewhere. I told him, pile that dirt up along the neighbor's property line as long and as high as you can make it, so that it blocks the view between our two properties. Which he did. The new dirt wall between my neighbor and me stretches from the pond to most of the way down the property line, and is about 10 feet tall. My neighbor was pissed, but there wasn't anything he could do. There's a ruling that says no structures on the property line, but dirt isn't a structure. He tried to get the local neighborhood board involved, but I just ignored their letter offering to move the dirt for free as they didn't have a case, and I liked having the dirt wall between us. Boss can't follow her own rules, gets fired. This was one of a few instances which ultimately got my boss fired. The new head coach of the school I had been coaching at for 5 years demanded that she be the only one to mark the roll before all 100 or so kids went off into their respected class for the afternoon. She snapped any time anyone else would try to mark it. She was also bullying one of my colleagues and really let her have it when she marked the roll on a separate occasion. One day, a kid forgot something in their locker and asked to be escorted by our head coach to get whatever it was. So, at the beginning of class, around 3:15 PM, all of the kids were looking at us, the coaches, and getting antsy, waiting for something to happen. My boss didn't tell anyone what she was doing. We thought she went and moved her car or something, and she was taking her sweet time. Since I had been working there the longest out of all the coaches, the others were asking me if we should start and if I could mark the rolls. I told them in a very sarcastic and evil tone, "We have to follow her instructions. Let's wait and see how she copes with her own fuck up." My boss returns at about 3:25 and sees everyone just standing there and proceeds to ask us, "What happened? We are late for class. Come on. Chop chop." I kindly reply, "We followed your rule. We can't start without you marking the roll." She gives me this look. I'll mark the roll while the kids are warming up then. Meanwhile all the kids are hastily running to where they need to be and the whole gym looks super disorganized. We get the warm up underway, and while kids are running back and forth doing kicks and turns etc. This is an artistic gymnastics class BTW. She is walking in between the rows, almost getting kicked in the face, and asking who's here and who's missing etc. And all my students are looking at me like WTF is this bitch doing? All the while the head of sport was watching from above in the sports staff room, watching this bitch crash and burn. She was fired at the end of her 3rd term at the school. I'm now applying for the head coach role. Fingers crossed that I get it.